welcome everyone to tonight's EF Gap Year Alumni panel. My name is John, and I am a Gap consultant here at EF Gap Year. And like I said, I am joined by three really incredible alumni, Sonia, Paige, and Sam, who I will introduce in just a bit. I myself and am an alum. I did a gap semester with EF a couple years back, so I'm just super excited to be joined by these great people. And today we're really going to be having a discussion with our alumni to share stories from their own gap experience. We're going to be talking about why they decided to take a gap, where they're at now, and have them share all about their experience. I'll try to take you all on a chronological journey. And just for some context, because I know we have people from all different points in their gap research, exploration, planning process, we offer gap year programs for anyone ages 18 to 22. So whether you're looking to take a gap year between high school and college, like I did, during your college experience, or even after college, our programs are really designed to help you build those real world skills, make those lifelong memories, and just return home a better you, just ready to take on whatever can be next. So before we dive into the discussion with our alumni, I want to give you all some context on who we are here at EF, why we do what we do with our GAP programs, and all the different programs that we offer. So I'll run through a few slides with you to start, and then I'll jump into the Q&A with our alumni. Alrighty, so to begin, I want to tell you a bit about EF and who we are. And the first question, EF stands for Education First. We get asked that all the time. For those of you who don't know, EF is actually the world leader in educational travel. We've been doing this for about 60 years now, and in that time, we've helped millions of people see new places, experience new cultures, learn new languages, and just discover new things about themselves and about the world. And so many of you may know us already because maybe we work with your high school or college, or maybe you have traveled with EF Tours or EF Explore America or EF Ultimate Break in the past. We are what we like to call globally local. And we call ourselves this because we have over 52,000 EF staff located in offices in 114 countries all around the world. So, as you might imagine, having such a deep expertise and experience running these educational travel programs for so many decades just continues to be incredibly valuable for us. And it also means that we know what's happening on the ground everywhere we travel. Having that worldwide local presence allows us to really, truly understand all the places that our customers travel because we ourselves live and work at most of these places. And so this is really why we built these GAP programs. We understand, like you all here today, that what it takes to feel happy and fulfilled and successful in today's modern world just looks a lot different than how it did only a handful of years ago. And because more than ever, we're coming to understand that the real growth and learning can happen anywhere, not only within the four walls of a classroom or on a college campus. So our programs are really designed to help our students thrive in today's ever-changing world, where we give them the space and the tools and the experiences, most importantly, the confidence to just take on the world. And we also like to get our students out of their comfort zones, which can allow them to discover more about themselves, more about the world, and more about themselves in the world. Really just coming home equipped to take on whatever may be next, whether that's college or the workforce or more travel. All right, so now I'll get into a bit of the program itself, how it's structured, and kind of how everything all works. And you can see here are the three breakdown of your program options. So we have short-term programs that last 4 weeks, semester options that are 10 weeks, and our full gap year option. Our semester programs depart similarly on an academic semester timeline, with departures in September, the fall semester, and January, February in the spring semester. The gap year is 2 semesters long. A fall semester, we send you home for winter break, and then a spring semester. And then the short term is about a month long. It plugs into different points of the school year. And regardless of which program you are looking into, whether it be the full gap year, the semester, or the short term, here is everything that's included. All those flights, the round trip flights and transportation, all the activities and excursions that are on program, all of your accommodations, most meals, as well as our 24/7 EF global support and our mentorship. Alrighty, so I'll quickly go through some of our program options just for some context. But tomorrow, if you want more details on the program specifically or anything that I kind of touched upon, we also host weekly info sessions every Thursday, which goes more in depth on kind of the material I will be sharing with you all. So if you're interested in hearing more, joining us for that tomorrow, definitely reach out to your gap year consultant to get an invite for tomorrow's session. It is happening at 9 p.m. Eastern. But again, I'll quickly run through some of our short-term options. Like I said, these happen at various times throughout the school year. They can focus either on one specific location or give you the chance to explore various different cities and countries along the way. And also, regardless of which program you are looking into, it all structured similarly with your cohort of around 20 to 25 other students that you'll be traveling and together throughout the entirety of the program. So here are a couple of our different short-term options. First, we have our European exploration and our Costa Rican exploration. These are both programs that focus on guided travel. You'll hear me using that word a lot. This European exploration program allows our students to discover a wide range of diverse cultures across 4 major European countries. And similarly, on our Costa Rican exploration, you're really diving deep into the country of Costa Rica and exploring all that it has to offer, whether it be in their diverse ecosystems or working with local NGOs on different sustainability projects or with different youth empowerment projects as well. These are 3 more short-term options that we have. Our Journey to Japan and our Spanish Join program are both very similar. You're focusing on authentic cultural immersion in both of these places. However, it's more tied with language immersion as well. So you'd be living and learning like a local, taking language classes with EF International Language Schools. And lastly, East Asian exploration is similar to the European exploration and Costa Rican exploration, really all about guided travel throughout South Korea and Japan. So next I'll talk about our gap semester programs. Again, these are all 10 weeks long, built around the kind of academic semester. We see students who maybe are deferring college, maybe they're graduating early, maybe they're a spring admit, or maybe they just want to take a break before, during, or after their college experience. And I just want to note that for our spring semester departures, our deadline is fast approaching. We actually are at max capacity for most of our spring semester programs. So definitely check in with your gap year consultant to kind of explore a little bit more about the options available to you. Here are a couple different semester programs that we are running. I'll start in the top left with our Pathfinder program. This is very similar to that European exploration short-term program that I just mentioned, where you're visiting different cities and countries across Europe. You're really pulling together here different themes within the countries that you're traveling to. So in Iceland, you're focusing a lot on environmental science. In London and France, history. In Germany, business and culture as well in Switzerland and Italy. So the Explorer on the top right begins with kind of a guided exploration in Europe, as you can see in across London, Amsterdam, Paris, and Barcelona. Then it moves to a month of a language study in the city of your choice. You see your 5 options there. Then it wraps up with a month of service projects in Thailand. The language and culture in Spain and the language and culture of Japan are almost the older siblings to the Spanish Sojourn and Journey to Japan programs. You're doing a lot of that authentic cultural immersion while attending language classes either at EF's Barcelona campus or the Tokyo campus throughout your semester. Here are 3 more semester options. With a change maker, you're going to be kind of adventuring your way across diverse ecosystems of Latin America while working with local communities and nonprofit organizations to really learn about putting sustainability in action. The Voyager is, again, all about embracing your more adventurous side. You'll be exploring a lot of Australia and New Zealand, and then wrapping it up with some authentic immersion in Thailand and Japan. And lastly, if you're more interested in maybe gaining some professional international work experience, you can choose to our business and entrepreneurship program in Stockholm, where we would match you with an international organization where you would intern and kind of navigate that 9 to 5 life and really level up your resume. And again, there's a really great variety of programs to choose from, and working with your gap consultant to kind of narrow down options that feel right for you is the best way to learn more. So I also want to share that we have study abroad programs. We partner with some of the world's top colleges to really facilitate some authentic, culturally immersive international educational experiences that help to bring learning to life. So here are three of our current options. And these programs are great for students who are maybe interested in more pursuing the academic coursework at hand and then bringing those college credits back to their larger college experience. And again, if you want to learn a little bit more about these individual programs, I definitely recommend you joining us tomorrow at our info session to get a better dive into what these programs are like. Finally, we have our 23-week gap year program. And so like I said, this program is broken into 2 semesters with a winter break in between. So the first semester begins with a guided exploration all across Europe. You can see it's almost a new country every single week for 6 weeks across Europe. Then you move to 3 weeks in Australia, and then you wrap it up. You wrap up your first semester with 3 weeks of a cultural immersion in Thailand. Then we fly all of our students back home for a winter break where they can reconnect with their friends and family or maybe work. Then we fly them back out for a semester 2, which you have an option of either choosing to spend 11 weeks in one of the following cities learning a language and taking language classes, or we would match you with an international internship based in Stockholm, Sweden, where we would be allowing you to kind of navigate that 9 to 5 life where we set you up with an apartment. And I see someone has raised their hand. I definitely recommend you putting any questions or things, comments you want to learn a little bit more about in our chat or our Q&A. So obviously, this was a very quick run through of all of our offerings, but hopefully you're feeling a little bit inspired and energized by some of the programs that I talked about. We're not going to go super in depth on pricing and planning tonight because we want to switch over to the conversation with our amazing alumni. But the best next step after this panel is to really connect with your gap year consultant or join us tomorrow at our info session so we can dig more into these details. So with that said, I would like to introduce our alumni on the call tonight. So if you all, Sonia, Paige, and Sam, if you all want to come back on camera so we can jump in. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our alumni. We have 3 fantastic alumni joining us here today, Paige, Sonia, and Sam. So starting with Paige, then maybe going down the line, do you want to give us a quick introduction on who you are, where you're joining us from today, and a little rundown of the program you chose?
Yeah, hi, I'm Paige. I am joining from my dorm, if you can't tell. I go to Western Kentucky University. I'm a Kentucky native, and I was a part of the 2020 to 2023 gap year program this past year. And I did it was formatted a bit different, but I got to study Spanish in Barcelona, do some service work in Costa Rica, and I had an internship in Sydney, and I absolutely loved it.
Hey guys, I'm Sam. I did the Changemaker this fall, and I absolutely loved it as well. It kind of aligned with a lot of my interests. About me, I'm from Massachusetts, and right now I'm in Whistler on another program. Hopefully all goes well. I have a little bit of an injury, so might be able to get back out there skiing, but who knows? Yeah.
Wishing you a fast recovery, Sam. Sonia, take it away.
All right. Hey guys, my name is Sonia. I am currently joining from Boston, Massachusetts. I go to Northeastern University. I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, though. I was on the same program as Paige, the gap year, like 2022, 2023. It was an absolute blast. I did my language in Paris, my service in Thailand, and my internship in Stockholm.
Perfect. Okay, great. So I will keep this up for a little bit, but then I want to kind of just open up the forum for you all. I want you all right now, Paige, Sonia, and Sam, just take a step back and rewind time a little bit and go back to the moments leading up to you going on your GAP program. So maybe Paige, we'll start with you. Can you take me through like what made you decide in the first place to go on a GAP program and when you kind of decided on doing this?
Yeah, so I was enrolled in an EF program through my high school, just like a 2-week, I think I was to Greece, and it was in 2020, so it obviously got canceled. and I just chose to do a voucher for the full amount. And then I was kind of just looking on EF's website, stumbled across the gap year program, hopped on a bunch of webinars just like these and listened to other people talk. And I had never really planned on doing a gap year. It just sort of fell into place, and I talked to my parents about it. And during COVID, when you're just locked in your house, all you can do is just daydream and think about possibilities. So that's what I settled on, and I am forever thankful that I did it. It was not an easy decision by any means. It was definitely, I came out saying I was going to do it, and everybody was like, "What does that even mean?" But eventually I, got everybody's support, and yeah, I'm super grateful. I also had a passion for Spanish before my program, so I wanted to get some like language immersion, and this obviously had a beautiful opportunity for that as well.
Awesome. We'll definitely explore that a little bit more. But Sam, maybe you take it away for us on, rewinding time, and what made you decide to go on your gap program, and kind of when did you decide to do that too?
Yeah, I was pretty decided on it early. I think by November-ish of my senior year, I knew I wanted to do a gap year. And I think I really gravitated towards it because 1 year ago, I had no idea what I wanted to study, like let alone where I wanted to study it. So I thought doing a gap year was kind of a buffer in between. It was an opportunity to travel and have fun as well as learn more about myself. And I think so far it's been exactly that, like taking time to reflect and learn about myself, but also have fun and enjoy the travel. And like Paige said, like EF was, I mean, the Changemaker was perfect for me because I also am pretty passionate about Spanish. And then looking at the itinerary for it, it was a lot of outdoors kind of activities, like getting your hands dirty and like making a change, like it says, which was pretty amazing. And I think I took a lot away from it.
Love that, Sam. I'm going to throw that question back on you, Sonia, on kind of what made you decide to go on a gap program, back before you decided on doing this, and kind of when were you looking on planning for this?
Yeah, so I would say around like my sophomore, junior year of high school, I was looking into college and was realizing that I was absolutely not ready to start that right after high school ended. I was extremely burnt out, both sort of socially and then academically. Like my high school was super rigorous, and I just knew that I could not continue without any sort of like mental break. So ending up like doing a whole bunch of research and trying to find a good gap year, and I landed with EF just because of how much I was able to do. And I just wanted to do something where I could explore as much as possible. And also, like, I wanted to get better at my French and sort of solidify that. And being able to go to Thailand would be super cool. So I was like, absolutely. And then just overall, just a super cool experience that I would be able to do. And obviously, it was life changing. So I wouldn't change that for anything. But yeah.
Love that, Sonia. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing just so we can feel a little bit more intimate with each other. But Sonia, I want to keep it on you a little bit and kind of unpack a little bit more of your feelings leading up to the program, before the program even started. Were you nervous? Were you excited? Were you a mix of both? Like, what were your feelings like? Kind of when you decided on doing this, and leading up to actually departing.
Yeah, to be honest, whenever my mom first suggested that I should take a gap year instead of go straight to college, I literally started crying because I was so relieved that that could be an option. Because again, I just could not do school soon, like that soon after. And then right before departure, and sort of like I guess the second semester of my senior year, I was on these webinars all the time, trying to DM as many people on Instagram, like get as much information as possible just to hear all about it. And I ended up finding a couple people who really helped me decide that this was right for me. And then also my gap advisor, May, was really, really useful. Love her. But right before sort of leading up to departing, I was mostly just excited because at that point, all of my friends left for college. And I didn't really have too many doubts about it. Like sometimes I was a little bit scared, like, oh, maybe I should go and do something traditional. But ultimately, I knew I was not ready for that and sort of had to stand my ground and just realize this is actually what I wanted. So I was really, really excited to leave and meet new people and just start and just a whole adventure. So yeah.
Awesome. I love that, Sonia. And Paige, I want to kind of lead it up to you a little bit on, your feelings leading up to this. Is I know you had different support from people in your life, but what did you personally feel? Were you a little nervous joining into this? Was it strange doing something that maybe not a lot of people in your community or circle had done before?
Yeah, so I had never been out of the US before, and like traveling was always something I really wanted to do. But I went to a really small all-girls school, and one of the stories I like to tell when people ask about how I was feeling going into it was we all like painted our skirts on the last day of school of our college colors. And I was like, well, what am I gonna do with my skirt? But I ended up painting a globe on it, and it was really cute. So, but yeah, I mean, so the moral of that story is just that when you're choosing a path that's outside normal, it's not going to be super comfortable, which I think is something that, most of us actually seek is that discomfort that comes with growth. Um, but so with that, you're going to have to kind of like reinvent different ways to make it a new normal and make it work for you. So yeah, going into the program, I was really nervous, but I was also strangely calm because I was like, this just feels right. And there were definitely moments where I was scared, but I remember getting on the plane and I was like to Boston and I was like, I'm really scared, but this feels like the right thing. And I know it's the right thing in my mind. I know this is my path. And I think that's a great thing to keep in mind with you throughout the whole year. Whenever you're feeling kind of like nervous or uncomfortable, just remind yourself like, this is your path, this is your journey, and it's all going to work out exactly how it should.
I love that. And also feeling like very in tune with, the decisions that you are making and feeling empowered by that, I think can go a long way. Love that, Page. And Sam, I want you to take it away too and give your thoughts on kind of the moments leading up, your feelings, your nerves, if you had any, kind of, let us in on that.
Yeah, my mindset was more similar to Paige's, I think. I remember it was similar, as you said, it's a similar time frame to colleges, heading off. So right before I headed off, most of my friends had left and I was kind of just alone finishing up work, and I had a great summer. So I didn't really want to go. It was kind of hard to say goodbye to all of that. And, you know, in the moment, that's obviously, I think it was just my head saying that, because I went on the trip and it was truly amazing. Like instantly I started making connections. Like I think that's what kind of made it easier, like stepping out of your comfort zone right away and talking to people. I remember like having bad first impressions as well, and like just kind of not necessarily letting that affect you. Like my roommate, as John saw, Julian, on the first night, I remember being pretty worried about him, but I spent every night of the trip with him, I think, and he was my best friend throughout it. So like, I don't know, going into the trip, I was certainly nervous about the group. I imagine like most kids that take gap years, I thought they did it kind of as a year almost more to develop because they were almost scared of college, which I think is a little bit of a stigma around it. But then I went and met the group, and my like fears were just like totally wrong, I guess. It was a cool group of people.
Yeah, I totally relate to that, Sam, as well. I remember, this kind of bleeds into the question that was just asked in terms of like the process on the whole college admissions and that timing and planning and how did you feel doing it alongside that. I remember personally like seeing everyone go off to college and then you maybe just the timeline of how our programs depart, you can maybe see them going off first and then you have all these different feelings. And then I remember personally all those feelings kind of subsided when I was international, just exploring different parts of the world. Well, after syllabus week of that first week of college, now they're studying and grinding for tests and papers and projects, and we were out exploring the world. I think that is when those feelings kind of were a little bit more muted. But I think, Sam, I want to lean in on what you were saying a little bit on like the first beginning aspect of when you're meeting people on program. um, so you were kind of talking about like meeting all those different people for the first time, not really getting a feeling on like how that was going to feel. I also remember and know that everyone starts at a level playing field with no one really having known each other. I think it makes it a little bit easier, but maybe you can touch on that a little bit and when you start to feel things
Yeah,
like really jiving and meshing as a group.
absolutely. Like I remember meeting, leaving Logan Airport, there was I think 4 or 5 other kids leaving with me. And I remember even then it was like kind of hard just to like put yourself out there and be like, hey, are you guys doing EF? But like slowly like you get on the connecting flight and then you meet more kids, then you get to San Jose and you meet everyone and like you have the dinner together and it's a little awkward, but then like truly just day by day you get closer with each other. Like by doing uncomfortable stuff, you get closer. Like you're at least for the change maker, we're with each other 70 days, not doing the easiest kind of stuff some days. And like through that you build relationships with the people you're with. Like you can like really bond with them over that. And I'm glad I did. I think, like I said too, first impressions, I think it might go more to show that I can be a little judgmental because I didn't have the best first impressions of my group mates, but they were amazing throughout the group. Like as I got to know them, like throughout the trip, I I really had misjudged them, I realized. And I'm glad that I gave it a second chance because it was a really awesome group overall.
I think that also, just to give yourself a little credit here, all the feelings that were probably in your mind on, being, abroad for such a long period of time and doing something that is kind of off the beaten path and not super linear. I'm sure a lot of those feelings are in your head as well. So I think give yourself a little grace on, just where your mindset was, just, meeting people for the first time. I also would be curious to hear, Sonia, your interpretation on like your beginning pieces on the program and when everything started to feel like you were getting in the groove of the trip.
Yeah, so obviously getting to Boston was so scary. I remember just being so nervous because in high school it had been really hard to sort of get to know people because right when I was starting to make friends, COVID hit, and then it was Zoom for a year and a half, and I didn't get to see anybody in person for so long. So the gap year was kind of this really fun, fresh start of just so many people that I just remember thinking I I had first impressions of people and then forgot them 2 days later because I finally met them for the first time whenever we like landed in London. I think it was first. So those first 3 days in Boston were a complete whirlwind, and I really don't remember much of it. Just meeting so many happy people, like so excited to start the trip, just like eager to get going and do fun stuff. And then we were able to get into our like guided exploration groups, and I feel like that's sort of whenever we were able to sort of bond over the same things because we were together for every single day for 2 weeks and we really got to make connections there. So doing that was really beneficial. I think our group ended up getting really close and that was so much fun. And that's sort of when I felt like, okay, like this is going to be okay. We'll be fine. But yeah.
Which is such a relieving feeling. And Paige, I'm sure maybe you share some similar sentiments, or maybe you don't. Kind of, I would like to hear your kind of beginning moments on meeting everyone and what that felt like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna like to be frank, when you get to your wherever you're first going, it's gonna be so overwhelming and you're gonna be like, I don't even know what's going on. And then all of a sudden you're not in high school anymore and it all feels really real. And you realize, like, I remember having realization of like, I could totally reinvent myself right now. I could totally invent a new personality and nobody would know who I was and nobody would know if I was like lying or not. Obviously I didn't do that, but like just the like pure possibility of it all is so overwhelming. And I would say, exactly like Sonia said, the first couple of days are just an absolute whirlwind and you don't even remember anybody's names and you're just like, okay, now we're going to this thing and now we're going to dinner and now we're going to go do this activity. And it's just like you're just going where people tell you to. But like she said, as soon as you settle into like a routine with your guided exploration and your groups, like you will immediately start making memories. I remember worrying like, how am I going to make friends? And that's kind of a like don't ask yourself that question because it'll be effortless. You'll just fall into, like a walking tour of London and all of a sudden you'll make a memory looking at street art or whatever, like seeing Buckingham Palace for the first time, or like it will just fall into place exactly how it should. And just try and be yourself the best you can, because I remember, like I said, being like, what if I just created a new persona? But don't do that, okay? Just be yourself and people will love you.
I think what's interesting about that page is just the concept of taking this time for yourself and being able to kind of zoom out a little bit and go off the beaten path. And not that it derails the track, but it just, you see a new track and you just think, oh, like who do I want to be as a person, in my character. I think you're able to then take the time to kind of separate yourself a little bit from just the flow of the past 12 years that you were in school, kind of not skipping a beat. And I think that's kind of what that gap does in terms of just opening up your personality a little bit. And
Yeah.
if you were
I will say also, like, I'm sure most people can relate. If you come from a smaller town, you'll realize that a lot of your personality is just based on the people you grew up with. And whenever you get out of that, you're like, oh, wait, is this even who I am? Like, I had a couple moments where I was like, who am I? And I was able to discover that for myself. And I got to meet a lot of people that I never would have met people like that ever in my life if I would have stayed in Kentucky my whole life. So, yeah, definitely a lot of self-discovery, definitely a lot of discovering what your real values are.
I'd be curious to hear, Sonia, you speak on this a little bit because Paige, again, I love what you're saying on just people within your own cohort. I mean, it's people from all across the United States, but still you can find different pieces of their own culture and background and how they grew up and the people that they associated with. You can kind of piece all that together and kind of steal that mosaic for yourself on top of being, on an international program where you meet people of all different backgrounds, so different from how we grew up in the United States. And I think, Sonia, so what I want to kind of point in your direction in terms of maybe your own like high school self, did you feel any kind of self-discovery happen, or any kind of clarity in terms of how you were maybe before high school trying to do this, and then during your program?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, I feel like my high school experience socially was definitely just non-existent. I came from a really small middle school into a high school that was super cliquey, and I literally knew nobody and didn't really get to know anybody. So my gap year was the first time that I truly got to know people for people, which was incredible. Like the amount of conversations that I had that were just so eye-opening was insane, and I think about them to this day. Like literally, they changed me so much. I can't even begin to explain that. But yeah, I was super, super introverted in high school to the point like I would not go up and like talk to anybody random. And then I kind of just had to on the gap year. You get to Boston and you're not going to go stand in the corner because this is your year to change and to become somebody new and just to like develop your own personality. So the fact that I'm even like talking to people about this is wild. I never would have done this like 2 years ago. You think like me on a webinar? Absolutely not. But here we are. So that's like it's literally it's still unbelievable to me. And then I get to college and my roommate and I are knocking on people's doors, being like, hi, like I'm Sonia, nice to meet you. Can we be friends? I would have never done that had I not taken a gap year. Like absolutely not. So that was something that I definitely noticed just like switched in me. And now I have such a desire to connect with people, like genuinely, like to my core. I feel like that's what I want to do now is just to talk to people and learn about them and hear their stories. And I feel like I met people on the trip. I mean, Paige was literally like she was so inspirational in the way that she spoke to people, learning so much from just her and so many people about how to connect with others. I think changed me so much for the better. So yeah.
Love that, Sonia. I think that's like a really powerful message just for everyone here today, regardless of kind of where you find yourself or who you kind of resonate the most with. Sam, a question I want to ask you, because you are still currently on your own gap year. You are dealing with torn MCL in the beginning of your the second semester of your own gap year. So something I want to maybe I'll ask a multifaceted question. Like, what is it like in terms of navigating something that was a little bit unexpected, kind of a shock in your plans? Did you go on the change maker, that novelty, that newness kind of prepare you for a situation that you're dealing with currently in terms of something unexpected being thrown to you?
Yeah, I think it definitely did. Like, there's plenty of moments on your EF trip where something unexpected is thrown at you. Like, I don't know necessarily what it might be. Maybe a departure 3 hours earlier than expected because your flight got something like that. I don't know. But like a lot of times something is gonna get thrown at you throughout the trip. And it really like maybe it's not a injury like a torn MCL, but on our trip we had food poisoning as well, like towards the end. And it's obviously tough. We were in the Amazon, no air conditioning. Like it was we were missing the whitewater rafting day too. It's tough memories, but like you just have to kind of suck it up, as sad as that may sound, but everything's gonna get like everything shall pass. Like you're gonna get over it soon enough. And I think that's just my mindset here too. Like, yeah, this is brutal, and I may have to go home for a little bit, but if that's the case, I'm just gonna make the most of it, like I did with the crappier situations on EF, and really enjoy it. Like in retrospect, I think.
I think it's cool too, Sam, to just understand like there's that saying, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but like a rainy day in Costa Rica is probably better than a sunny day in most other places. So I think still having that perspective, being able to zoom out a little bit, it could be helpful as well.
Exactly. Like you're some of the most amazing places in the world. It's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like if you roll your ankle hiking up to Machu Picchu, make the right and like do the rest of the trip. It's worth it. Like it might hurt for the moment, but in retrospect, you can tell everyone you hiked up Machu Picchu. Those kind of things, like you said.
Exactly. Just saying that sentence, I rolled my ankle on the hike up to Machu Picchu. I think just that is kind of captivating enough. And there was a question that was just asked in the chat that I want to hear all your perspectives on in terms of the amount of communication that you had with your families during your gap year. Just for some context, I know there are some other gap companies that like take phones away or kind of limit communication. That's something that we don't do. We actually encourage all of our students to kind of stay in contact with their family, their friends, their own support network. But I'd be curious, maybe we'll start with you, Paige, and kind of go to Sam and Sonia next on terms of the communication that you had with your friends and your families during your gap year and what that was like.
Yeah, I did the EF, like, I don't know if y'all still have this, but there was like a cell phone plan. Okay, yeah, I got the EF cell plan, so I didn't have to worry about it all year. My phone would just like automatically connect in a new country. And that was obviously really easy and simple and something less to worry about. But I tried to call my parents once a day. Didn't always happen just because of time changes and whatever, but try to call them once a day. It's really not that hard to find time in your daily schedules, whether it's before bed or in a break between activities. There will definitely be time for you to call your families and text your families. Um, so I wouldn't like worry about finding time. With my friends, I also found a lot of time to do that with them. Honestly, if anything, it made me a better communicator and I guess a more intentional person because even now, having my friends be at different colleges, it definitely prepared me for that because you do have to make an effort. It's not like you can just walk down the hall and hang out with your brother or like call your friend and tell her to come over. You definitely have to put some intention with that and like work out new ways to connect with people from a distance. And I will say I discovered the like art of voice memos, especially when I was in Australia because the time change was so different. And I would just send like literally like 15-minute long voice memos to my friends and we would take notes and send notes and then send a voice memo back. So that was really fun too.
That's super cool. I love that. I feel like we are still underutilizing voice memos as a country. Sam, I want to hear you kind of your communication with your friends and family. Was that difficult? Kind of how you approach that?
I think Paige said it well. I think it really helped my communication immensely because in the tougher moments, like, I remember arriving in San Jose that first night and just walking in the hotel, kind of all hits, but I just remember thinking, like, this 70 days, I don't know anyone here. And I just wanted to call my dad in that moment and like kind of get some reassurance. And yeah, the other day when I sprained my MCL, I immediately called my dad because it's just kind of become more of a habit when I'm away from home. Like that's that comfort line that I have. Like if I need something, I know I can call him and like get support. And then with friends too, like yeah, they were all at college and like I was kind of seeing them have their fun and like I felt like I was missing out a little bit, but it kind of forced me to reach out to them, like which was nice. I was calling a lot of my friends and texting them, like seeing how they're doing. I visited a couple of them when I got back, so I think it really helped my communication, like kind of getting distance from everyone, as weird as that may sound.
Love that, Sam. And Sonia, you kind of can also answer that question in terms of how you communicated with your own kind of support network and on program.
Yeah, I mean, just like Paige and Sam, I definitely did reach out to my parents a decent amount. It's in the beginning, I tried not to just because I wanted to distance myself and just to, like try to make new friends and sort of see how much I could do by myself. But it definitely made me a better communicator, 100%, like figuring out when I could prioritize my time to talk to certain people and sort of who I wanted to talk to, who wanted to talk to me, and figuring out again, just like time management was super important because we were doing so much, especially in the beginning that finding 15 minutes was sometimes really hard. So I definitely did a lot of texting, sending pictures back and forth, And then getting a lot of recaps when I got home was also very beneficial. But
Definitely. And another piece I always love to just share with people that are thinking about this, all four of us, I guess minus Paige and Sonia, but still you guys did pretty different programs, all had experiences that were super different. Yet we still are able to kind of, relate on a lot of aspects of our own EF gap year that definitely kind of like tied that common thread between us all. I still remember like I was a pretty, I would speak to my parents, regularly, not super frequently, but it came a time, I think it was like midway through my program where I was like FaceTiming my mom. I think I was like in the bathroom, like shaving or something like that. And she said, "Oh, how you doing, sweetie?" And for some reason that just really took me. And I was like, "Mom, like I think I need to call you back." And I had to like hang up and kind of process that in the shower. A little bit and let my emotions run, and that actually uplifts you a little bit more than you realize. And I think, like Sam said, understanding those support networks and how they are, the value they provide in your life is just like immense and kind of lives long after the program itself ends. So I also want to kind of fast forward in time a little bit. We spoke a lot about before the program, that research phase, then your on program experience. I kind of want to jump to after your program ended, and some of your biggest takeaways and kind of how that gap experience impacted you. So Sonia, maybe I'll take it, let you start it. Can you kind of walk us through like then starting college and like your major and um, all about that beginning process of college after your gap?
yeah, so I did apply to Northeastern my senior year, and then I deferred a year to take the gap year, and thankfully that was accepted and everything went smoothly. But I'm currently studying environmental studies and international affairs, which I feel is very fitting to what I did, obviously, traveling during the gap year, especially spending time in Thailand with a lot of sustainability and like NGOs and that kind of stuff. 100% showed me, yes, this is what I want to do. And coming to college, again, socially, I feel so much, or I felt so much more prepared. Like I was excited to go and meet all these people and hear about their experiences. And one of my closest friends, she also took a gap year. She didn't obviously do the same one, but we still bond over that. And there's so many similarities in the type of person that takes a gap year because they're just not doing what everybody else is doing. And there's just a vibe sometimes. I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes you can just like, there's just a different way that you can connect. But yeah, coming here, it's been incredible. I absolutely adore it. And I feel that I can appreciate college so much more for it. Because obviously I had a year aside and then now I'm excited to focus on my studies. Like I have that drive to do schoolwork again that I had completely lost at the end of high school. And just like keeping busy, doing research, all this stuff has been so much more exciting for me. Definitely because of the gap year.
I love that, Sonia, and I think so much of that I totally relate to in terms of how that experience kind of molded itself to where you're at now. And Paige, I kind of want to hear your take on this, and kind of, I think you have an interesting story a little bit on like how your gap year kind of impacted you literally in terms of your own college kind of journey.
Yeah, so I tried to defer and I didn't. And I'll tell you guys why. Keep this in mind when you're deciding to go where to school. I had a couple options in mind for where I was going to go to school. I was pretty set on University of Kentucky, and I went to visit my friend before my program left because she had already moved in, and I was like, I don't think this is for me. I like kind of cosplayed a student for a day, and I was like, yeah, I just didn't really like the vibe there. So then throughout the course of the year, I settled in on Western Kentucky University, and I ended up calling them because I was like, hey, I'm doing this gap program. Would it be helpful if I took these college credits that EF offers? And they were like, don't do that because then you'll be a sophomore academically with my high school credits and you won't be eligible for your freshman scholarship. So I guess the moral of that story is no matter where you go to school, make sure you call, or if you don't, but if you go to school, make sure you call your university, check with them because they will have all the answers to those kind of like credit questions. But then with regards of just the decision itself, taking my gap definitely solidified that, especially because I realized how important it was for me to meet different kinds of people. And most of the girls from my high school went to UK. And I sort of just realized I want to branch out. And as much as I love those girls, I really want to meet some new people. And so I decided to go to a place where not as many people from my area went to school. And that just was the right decision for me. I also am majoring in Spanish here, and it's really cool because like not a lot of people my age have already had this study abroad experience, and it is so helpful when it comes to like going to Spanish class and it's all in Spanish, but you've already done that in Barcelona. So, yeah, I would say it was very formative in my decision making for post gap.
I also just hear kind of the clarity as you were like realize, oh, actually, I don't want to do this, and I want to do something that kind of is more aligned with what I'm interested in. I definitely see those parallels in how that journey, and I think also this relates also to what you said, Sonia and Paige, and in terms of feeling like you almost had a leg up on the incoming freshman class because you did a very immersive and dynamic experience abroad, right after high school and then started college after that. Just comparing maybe even the versions of yourselves. It had you guys just went straight into college from high school. I think that is just like pretty a cool way to just kind of visualize the effects. And maybe I'll throw it to you, Sam. I know you haven't started college yet, but was there any kind of clarity or impact that you felt directly after your your gap semester experience?
I'd say so. Like, I think going into this program, it definitely felt easier for sure. Having already done one this year, especially, I think going through the process of meeting new people, going to a new like country, I guess, yeah, and like getting situated in a whole new world pretty much is pretty difficult to do. Like, I don't know where I think, and that's the same situation as college, really. So I think EF really prepared me for that, and yeah, when I go off to University of Denver next year, I'll feel really prepared for that as well, I think. Just because, I've been in that situation this fall where you really kind of have to put yourself out there to meet new people. You kind of have to stay open-minded to really enjoy the situation. And I think that's applicable to college or, if you're going to a job or my gap program now, like I just got to stay open-minded, like with everything realistically. And I think I'll enjoy it overall for sure.
I'm excited to kind of follow along your journey, Sam, because I feel like just seeing, you as the incoming freshman, having such a cool EF gap semester program and then what you're doing now with all tracks, I think it's going to be a really cool way to just jump into that versus again, like the people who might not have had, experience like that and have to learn the ropes again on how the kind of person they want to be and find themselves and what kind of personality that they want to let shine through. So I find that like super fascinating and kind of interested to kind of follow along that in terms of, and Sonia and Paige, you two touched on this, like your interests and what you found just like excited about, the world. Did that influence the major you both chose?
I can start. I feel like for me, it sort of solidified what I wanted to do. I had to declare a major before I like accept or like when I accepted, I already had a major coming into Northeastern. I ended up switching from like a combined major with economics to the international affairs and environmental studies combined major. And I feel like definitely spending time with NGOs in Thailand specifically sort of showed me that that's sort of what I want to do when I'm older. So hopefully that can happen. But like keeping those connections with the people that you meet on your gap year is 100% so useful. And again, like I spent some time in Paris and I am planning on minoring in French. So obviously that was very nice and helpful to have that immersive experience like Paige was talking about. So I would say, even though it didn't necessarily fully influence my studies, it definitely like solidified exactly what I want to do, at least for now. And I'm fairly certain that this is what I'll stick with.
Love to hear that, Sonia. Paige?
Yeah, I am kind of in the same way. I always loved Spanish, and if anything, it just solidified how passionate I was about it. I will also say I'm double majoring with political science because I want to do immigration law, and there wasn't any specific experience on my gap year that like inspired that. But outside of academics, I will say it definitely just sort of rearranged my aspirations for just what I wanted my life path to look like, I guess. Like before it had been very academically oriented, like, oh, I'll get this degree and then I'll go to law school and then I'll do this and then I'll do this. And now I just kind of I think about it less as like success. I guess what I'm trying to say is I can determine my success, whereas before I felt like my success was being determined by other people. Because what I realized was like if you reorient how you measure success to what actually makes you happy instead of what people expect out of you, you'll find that you'll soon be able to follow your own path instead of enforcing all these like expectations on yourself that really at the end of the day don't make you happy and therefore just don't matter. So I think if anything, I just really learned that I can be successful by doing what makes me happiest and what makes me feel good. So that is what I definitely learned on my gap.
That's a great takeaway. And there's also a question I just want to address that was asked in the Q&A in terms of applying to schools and then deferring or waiting to apply after the gap year. And I think everyone here had kind of different circumstances or kind of related circumstances. Again, this is something you can definitely talk through with one of us here at EF Gap Year, one of your gap year consultants. I will just say right now we do have 100% deferral guarantee. So if you were to apply to a college, then want to defer and book an EF Gap Year program, should they reject you for whatever reason, it's a very small likelihood, but you would be entitled to 100% refund because of that deferral guarantee. But again, you can have some more clarity on your specific situation with one of our gap year consultants. We'd be happy to chat to you about this. I know we're kind of approaching the end of the session here, so I want to wrap it up with maybe a closing statement from each of you, and maybe just very generally, plainly, or however deep as you guys want to get. Can you just give some general tips or advice for our prospective students and parents thinking about taking a gap? Anything that like feels super obvious that you want to let the people know? And Sam, maybe we'll start with you.
I'd say if you're thinking of taking a gap year, absolutely go for it, because what's on the other end of it is either school or a job, and those are both going to be waiting for you for the rest of your life, I think. And I can guarantee you from personal experience, if you speak to any adult and tell them you're doing a gap year, their response will probably be, "Oh, I wish I'd done that," or "Oh, you're so smart for that." I mean, every adult that I've spoken to really wishes they had. And I think I'm glad that I did. I think it gives you an opportunity to really travel and learn more about yourself in the perfect time frame, between high school and college. It's hard to say like what you want to decide for the rest of your life, which is really what you're being asked at that age. And I think doing a gap year gives you some time to reflect on what you want to do, what you really value. And I think that's helped me a lot this year and where I'm going to be next year. I feel more confident with everything that I've done from EF and then now all tracks.
Sam, love that. I really love that message. Paige, I'll toss it to you now. Any like lasting advice or tips do you want to let the people know?
Yeah, I mean, building off what Sam said, I think that's so right. I went through sorority recruitment in the fall, and every time it came up, everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing. Like, how did you even find that?" And so, yeah, absolutely, you absolutely will not regret it by any means. And also, there's just really not a lot like rush in your life. There's no rush to get through college and just start working. And I'll also just tell like a brief story. When I came home for winter break in between semesters, it was like I was like a different person. Not entirely, but you just feel this air of confidence and security in who you are. And I think that's the biggest gift that you can get out of this gap year or like takeaway that you can receive is just security in yourself and security in knowing that you're on your own journey and that everything will just align for you exactly how it should if you define your own success. So yeah, I think if you're on the fence, you can feel free to like reach out to any of us and we'll answer more questions. But moral of the story is it is very, very much worth it and it will make you the person you are today.
Paige, beautifully said. Sonia, that leaves it to you. Bring us home.
Yeah, I'm gonna obviously have to agree with Paige and Sam. 100% do it. Like, do it scared, do it excited. Like, no matter what, just do it. Like, it will change you for the better. 100%. I think about my gap year literally every single day. It's the reason that I do so much of what I do. And I think, as they mentioned, everybody wishes that they had done a gap year. Like, it is just so transformative in a way I think you don't see until, yeah, you're home for the first time and you realize, oh my God, like there's so much out there. And then it just like drives your desire to keep exploring. Like I spend almost all of my time outside of my dorm just gone so that I can go see new stuff. Like I'm just so interested now in learning every single detail about anything that I possibly can. And I feel like that curiosity truly does stem from my gap year, hearing so many stories from other people all around the world and within my own cohort. Like it just shows you how wide the world is and that it's not your small town, it's not your college. Like it is humongous and there's so much to see. And I feel like this gap year is the first step to doing that. And then you will spend the rest of your life figuring out the rest. So 100%, like I beg you, do it. Yeah.
Awesome. So, and I think that's such a good point in terms of the world being so wide, but then feeling it being small enough to take, a step into it. Really love that point. But that kind of, we're just about time. And I just want to thank you all for your awesome engagement and really insightful questions to everything that was asked today. I'm sure it was impactful for the participants here. It was impactful for me, just kind of reliving my own gap memories. And also for anyone here who wants to learn a little bit more, or speak directly with Paige or Sam or Sonia, we would definitely be happy to kind of help facilitate that conversation if you guys want to help continue that. So definitely reach out to your gap year consultant. We'll put you in touch and we can continue that conversation on your gap year exploration. But with that said, just want to thank you all. Enjoy your rest of your evening, and we will talk to you all very soon.